Of Cuban, Jamaican and Bajan heritage, Chérie Taylor Battiste was born in London and raised in Leeds. After graduating from the University of London, she worked as a TV researcher and actor, winning the Norman Beaton Fellowship and joining the BBC Radio Drama Company. Her first and enduring means of expression, however, has always been poetry, which she sees as a rare opportunity to have an uncensored cultural voice. Her debut poetry collection, Lioness, was launched in 2019, and she's been in demand as a judge and, of course, as a performance poet over the years. Recently chosen to be a Renaissance 1 associate artist, Chérie is also collaborating on a musical project with MR Live Food MBE, and she's working as a scriptwriter on the forthcoming theatre production of Jackie Kay's novel, Trumpet. So please welcome Chérie.
Hello, lovely to see you all there. Thanks for that introduction, Michelle. I think the word escape is a really wonderful theme for this festival. I know that throughout lockdown, writing was an escape and a tool very much for me. There was a point where me and Michelle Scally Clarke, who we'd soon, are friends, and we kept in contact during lockdown. And particularly when the event with George Floyd happened, we had a long conversation where we spoke in stanzas of each other, of poems that we'd written about the subject of race, and came to that kind of sad conclusion that, in a sense, all we had to do was change the names that we'd written, the names we'd flagged in poems of other racist incidents. But to be able to share that with another poet was edifying within that kind of language of stanzas and poetry. Also, when my granddad passed away in Jamaica, I couldn't go there, but I could write a poem that captured, my love for him, which could be shared at the funeral. And afterwards, we'd had a video link to my grandparents' house, and I could look up at their yard, which led up to the Blue Mountains. And I actually listened to the audiobook of Kei Miller's The Cartographer Tries to Map a Way to Zion. And something about the watching that foliage blowing in the Jamaican breeze, the lilt of his voice, that was the essence of escape. I couldn't be there, but I could be as close to the essence of back home as was possible. And yeah, and obviously this particular event has the theme of resilience and hope. So what I'm going to start by doing is reading a poem that very much looks at resilience. It's called Kinsugi, and Kinsugi is a Japanese art whereby a broken pot is mended with a special lacquer and glue made of honey and gold. And the finished pot is seen to be more beautiful than the original because of the resilience it holds and the stories within it. And this poem is called Kinsugi. I am black. My glue is gold and has the shine of insects' wings. I am the pot dropped as hands forgot to hold. Many impacts sting. In time lapse, I watch myself fold, remolding implicit in exquisite way I implode. I'm not delicate, I'm not fixed. Yes, sometimes shattered to bits, but in the mixed up pieces can bend, so I'm not fixed. And there's nothing to mend. I gather myself in bits, reassembling to ascend to a form without the trick of having to pretend. And I'm tender with ragged scarring, removing jagged, jarring pieces of ivory towers of those who deny there can be power in our glass curves. Those who, on seeing painted lip from pot, want to sip, ignoring it's embossed with unglossed, unheard words. And I dismiss as suspect pieces of others who made me other, a foreign object, who tried to melt as wax my melanin black, whose flames I swerved. And I pull no punches with the pieces abusers smashed, as if I was owned, as if I was made of glass they themselves had blown. These pieces, porous with surrender, have no place. They wouldn't render. My pot would rock, would be debased. They have no space in my rebirth. I remove all isms, all doubt dynamics, fill schisms with truth grout, recenter ceramics. Rejected pieces I study first, then release far from me. I pummel them, I bury them. I take their thirsty dark from me. And in their place, pieces etched with my son and daughter's face. I carve imprints of newborn hands. To hold these fragments, gold and honey, most refined, erupts and flows as molten magnet down ducts of gaps, a magma sublime. And I layer and layer the love they stick to me. Rich, sturdy bits, disheveled with mess and grit. On the map of my cracks, they are beveled worlds. Continents on globe, moon and sun, by which whole vessel is lit. Amphitheatre for story that sits in the space I hold. And I funnel crushed diamonds of the memory of my mum's eyes as she smiled. Drizzling dazzle glaze drifts like dreams. So if flawed in my trials, her gemstones are resewed in newly grown seams. Having life as muse ensures contours more than before. Landscapes heal aftershocks of quake, reseal to abstract, extract new face inch by inch. So anywhere I'm placed is my plinth, and I rinse, I buff, I never glance back to the form before cracks. Resilient mosaic enough. I unfold, eclipsing prosaic with brilliance of black and gold, the shape I was meant to be, beautiful dents in me and my Kinsugi rich, because I'm pot dropped as hands forgot to hold. I'm not delicate, I'm not fixed. Yes, sometimes shattered to bits, but in the mixed up pieces can bend. So I'm not fixed, and there's nothing to mend. Thank you. Thank you. I can see clapping hands. What I should have said as well was, yes, please feel free to clap, click, or do the reaction button, but thank you. And next, I'm going to just quickly introduce Kei Miller, and he's going to do the next poem. And he was born in Jamaica. He won the Forward Prize for his poetry collection, The Cartographer Tries to Map a Way to Zion. He's also an award-winning essayist, novelist, and novelist. His novels include Augustown and The Last Warner Woman. His many awards include the Silver Musgrave Medal from the Institute of Jamaica, and he's a Fellow of the Royal Society of Literature. Kei has an MA in Creative Writing from Manchester Metropolitan University and a PhD in English Literature from the University of Glasgow, where he also taught, as well as at the University of Exeter and Royal Holloway. His latest and highly anticipated new collection is In Nearby Bushes, which explores a landscape marked by murder and magic. So I'll hand over to Kei.
Hi, thanks, Chérie. So I think I will, yes, I get to read one poem now and one poem a little later, right? So the first poem that I'll read is a very, very old poem that I wrote. And I was just thinking about this theme, and the two poems you'll see connect to each other. I guess in this lockdown itself, I haven't been able to write exactly about the lockdown. I haven't been able to look at it directly. But I've been thinking about how I've written about these things in the past. And I think I always come back to animals. Like, animals are the most obvious example of things that we literally locked down just for years. And I've only just recognized how this is a theme, how I'm always fascinated with the animal that escapes and what that means. And this is probably the first time I ever wrote about it. It's my first collection. And what happened was this was years ago, probably 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago, 2002. Living in Jamaica, I lived near to the zoo. And a monkey called Sammy escaped from the zoo. And it ended tragically because Sammy was killed by some neighborhood dogs. And it was a huge deal in Jamaica. And I thought that it was weirdly kind of glorious, and I wanted to think through his escape in another way. And so I wrote this poem, Ahuse Sammy Dead, for the escaped monkey. And Jamaicans will hear an echo in that title, Ahuse Sammy Dead. They will hear a folk song. And the folk song becomes, different parts of the folk song become the different titles of each section of the poem. And in the folk song, Sammy is imagined as dying, but by the end of the song, it turns out that Sammy didn't die at all. So Ahuse Sammy Dead for the escaped monkey. 1. Sammy plant piece of corn down a gully. Tell them the corn wasn't really corn, but something you seeded, like maybe a dreadlock from your rebel days in Honduras, hidden in soil. So one day you'd remember the fire, the anger that some cities are worth burning. This was before they reeled you in with fishnet and had you thrashing a let me go jungle dance, khaki men clapping, dance, monkey dance, while you were bawling murder. Or maybe the corn was your navel string. Call it what you will, it was planted in a gully that wasn't a gully, but it's so Babylon call our homes cause it's not theirs. Sammy, ¿cómo se dice home in Espanol? I should tell you, Sammy the monkey was a capuchin monkey from Honduras. 2, and it bare till it killed poor Sammy. Tell them the tree once planted will bear. They thought you forgot Honduras, thought you'd grown accustomed to the monotonous grid of iron, the St. Thomas bananas and the flat non-music of our dialect. They thought you were content making monkey faces as trade for Snickers and lollipops, content passing collection hats for blind organ grinders, content to scratch your balls on camera. Tell them, Sammy, how you finally heard the tree humming at night, how you've been jungle dreaming and memories that died in your prison have risen like Lazarus, zombie arms to choke you. These past nights you woke crying for mama, crying for mambo and merengue and garifuna, crying in Espanol, libertad, libertad para mí. 3, Sammy dead, Sammy dead, Sammy deado. Tell them your death is not really death, cause wasn't no shame in it. Shame is breath expired behind bars, while your brothers find eternity in the jaws of cougars. Your death is not death, only the separation of fur from spirit, the ability to fly, a monkey dream in Espanol, homecoming, party, la fiesta. Your death is amen and amen. The swell up of chains to bursting. It is Dugu, it is Cumina, it is bienvenidos a Honduras otra vez. Ahuse Sameded, Ahuse Sameded. Tell them, Mino dedo. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. That was so wonderful. Really was transportative, truly. Right, I'm looking forward to speaking a bit more to Kei in the discussions about our lockdown experience after. But first, we're going to have a poem from Michelle Scally Clarke. Michelle Scally Clarke's professional freelance career has just celebrated its 25th anniversary. She's worked alongside greats such as Linton Kwesi Johnson, Jean Binter Breeze, Benjamin Zephaniah, Lems Desai, Brian Patton, and poet laureate Simon Armitage. She is the author of 2 memoirs, I Am and She Is. Having made her name as a theatre actor, she has since toured her plays First Cut and Suitcase throughout schools in Yorkshire and was commissioned by the NHS to write, tour and film a play, Jeans, Whose Jeans? She has also been working with the Clear Out Your Closet collective, a user-led peer support group of people suffering from mental health issues. Last but not least, she has been a workshop tutor for the festival's Creative Voices series of workshops for wellbeing, which HLF ran through the autumn. Over to Michelle.
Okay, hi everybody. Hello. So I'm going to do you two smaller pieces, just two small pieces. And as Chérie said, yeah, I've been doing a lot of workshops all the way through COVID. I started my workshops today, this time last year, with my Clear Out Your Closet group, because, you know, the Clear Out Your Closet group is a group for people who are suffering and managing their mental health and their well-being. So the pandemic brought a lot of, obviously, a lot of anxiety and shielding. So yeah, so this is my first piece. So when you're, I mean, I can see my sisters up here. Hi, girls. But when you're, it's the whole self-care and well-being. I think that's what I would really taken out of the lockdown and what that experience was for me, and also the reflection and that resilience, you know, looking for things, well, not looking, but just being grateful and giving thanks and being able to help that build me up. So this piece is called My Friend. Today I bought some turmeric, golden ginger and coarse black pepper. No, sorry. Today I brought my friend some turmeric, golden ginger and coarse black pepper. I gave her water, so much water. I made a bowl of baby spinach and salad leaves and vegetable lasagna without too much cheese. And we cheered and raised our lemon sparkle. I told her I loved her, the strength of her and the light of her, and I would stop abusing her. So she came with me to yoga, to the birch tree and the cherry tree, and we sat and ate blueberries and her special tree of walnuts. She grinned as I gagged, happy at last, to smile at the devil as we set her free. Our feelings were not reality, and laughing we slosh in the mud, it's splashing on our face. We get lost in the snow, following the magpies to see where they go. We give homage to the red fox and we kiss the Shango tree. Share the last of our berries with birch and cherry. And as we walk the meanwood ginnels of yesterday, we move in such a different way. Fear and hangovers a long way away. Today, we are friends. Thank you. Yeah, that's good. And so, and the next piece is just talking about, and then the next piece, just talking about that reflection and reflecting. This is a piece that, you know, my friendship, as we were saying, my friendship with Chérie is very, very precious. And very real for me. And me and Chérie we are both adopted, and we're both brought up in Headingley, and we just didn't know this until 5 years ago, and it was just like, woo, you know, being able to speak to somebody finally. So anyway, so this piece is called Mud, and the reason why I want to read it is because that's all I've been doing in lockdown, as you see. Mud, and more mud I've found outside. And I found, and I am really lucky because I have a granddaughter, Miss Rosa Parks. Yes, she's Jamaican and the Parks are her family. She has the Parks, it is Rosa Parks. So yeah, and she absolutely loves mud. So this is this piece when I find it. Okay. Get it. Sorry, guys. Hold on a minute. So, mud. I was born from mud. Sorry. I was born from mud. Muddied ways and muddied up days. I love mud. I was born from mud. I was born to know, living and sitting within sludges of children's home, that I was born to be undone. So understood. There are no safe harbours, just an illusion, a dance from the wind. Who comes in and what do they bring? What do I lose? Where do I choose? I was born in mud, and mud can taste like cack or play. Take you to bloody battlegrounds where inner child roams, lost not found, roaring and screaming, hurt at this life, spin bottles and spirits and men. And you'll find her, the hating, hurting, faceless mother again and again, cause history repeats when it's kept in the dark. So some mud may be necessary to keep us apart. I was born from mud. Muddied ways and muddied up days, I was born from mud. But it can cleanse and surge your soul enough to know that nobody's coming and you walk with your loss. You're your heaven, your hell, no one gives a toss. Wisdom and kindness not deemed good enough, but you're here and you give all you've got. Hidden love, beneficial wealth, in between the mud, I was loved. Caribbean, Irish, Catholic, another statistic. Told to be grateful. Go to confession and you'll feel like a virgin. Learn you're a sinner. Talk to white Jesus. Cleanliness is next to God. The more religion you learn, the less you believe in. Mud rinsed off along with the labels. In came the peace of the privileged and abled. And they see me as equal. Something they made though, and their picture and mine are now entwined side by side. And from the outside, strong visible ties. For I am mud. Modeling and capturing your sculpture, your dance, bringing and finding the hook or the chance to be. And I love mud. I love it. So today, I try to love that little girl who so mistrusts this fucked up world. I wrap her up in my arms in the morning and I tell her that I'm grateful she's breathing to hold her daughter's daughter, the lotus of my mud. And everything will turn out good, for she has no broken, ragged dreams. She has petals of hope and wonderful dreams that build and grow and love and heal as we dance in the mud. I love mud. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Michelle. Thanks so much. Now what we're going to do is we are going to kind of have a discussion, just generally a kind of relaxed discussion about our lockdown kind of experience, and particularly me asking, Kei and Michelle about their experiences. I know that people had very varied experiences and used the time very differently. Could I, I'll start by asking Kei perhaps, how, it's hard to summarize such a kind of time and experience with so much variation, but how would you summarize kind of your experience of lockdown, if you can?
Oh wow, to summarize, because it's been such a roller coaster, hasn't it? Frustrating. I'm not sure I'm at that point where I see the, like, I'm sure in time, and it's been happening for a lot of us, that the lockdown has been a time of reflection. Both, I'm sure individually, but certainly wider, just about who are we as a people, what is the world that we're living in? What is, everything is questioned relentlessly. We want to go back to how things were. Do we really want to go back to how things were? What is the thing that we want? What is the world that we want to emerge from this? But I live so much of my life in reflection and contemplation, and this period that forces us to pause, causes the whole world to pause and think, and for us to draw into ourselves. It's tiring after a while. It's
yeah, I definitely think it's without a kind of strategy to deal with it, it itself kind of becomes tiring in a way. I understand that space.
Yeah, so I'm sure it's productive intellectually in a weird kind of way, or even morally, for us to figure things out, but that takes work. And so I think I'm just tired of all of it right now. Yeah, that's a summary.
No, brilliant. That's great. I think it's also, I meant Michelle's unmuted now. What about you? I know, yeah, that kind of, it's that thing about kind of with the time you have using it. I know you used yours kind of quite specifically, and I use mine kind of specifically, you know, but way to avoid, as Kai said, that kind of open space. I kind of had very structured, that my compassion and gratitude were two key things that I tried to constantly work on in that kind of stillness, that rare stillness. How about you, Michelle?
Well, I think I'm kind of blessed really, because I'm really lazy. So for the first, couple of months, it was like I didn't realize how much I needed a break.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the constant movement, and I was kind of really thankful for it. And, the reading that I could get done and my own writing, I had chance to actually get my own writing done and stuff, But then I think for me, because I was running, like I said, the Clear Out Your Closet group, and I also run a group of writers, Leaving Care. So it became one of those, because I was working with people who were going through some really hard things, and we even lost a member of CYOC, and so it started, that empathy, and it became a solidarity really, and it stayed like that, I think, so I think when it does change again, I think I'm probably going to need another break just to recover.
Yeah. I think that thing about solidarity is interesting. A friend of mine, it happened that I think because we were single, that a group, including you, the kind of solo parents amongst my friendship group stayed in contact in a kind of different way, because we kind of didn't have other points of reference. And it was interesting watching people go down kind of rabbit holes and come back up fighting, and using the time of being overwhelmed with children at home to look at their children in different ways, and to look at who they were without an institution and after school clubs, and have that time to kind of reflect. But interestingly, I think a lot of people explored creativity, even people who weren't normally creative explored creativity in a new way. And I was speaking to that same solo parent friend, and she was saying so many of us are now like raring to go after the kind of baptism of fire of being like, I did, there's a point where I suddenly realized I can't do this on my own. And then you do, and to have done that, and to it makes every day. I needed the break, but I feel more resilient and ready for the everyday. I was interested in also, and feel free to all jump in. I know I'm asking questions and it's Zooming, it's a bit weird. But I noticed Kai saying he didn't actually write about lockdown. I think I wrote about my kids in lockdown, but I didn't really fully write about lockdown. I was wondering if you wanted to say more about that, either of you, whether you kind of, I know you did kind of, Michelle, but whether Kai, what did your writing entail kind of during lockdown?
I mean, I was working on things, but a lot of it was editing. Thank God I had a book that's just about to come out next month, a book of essays. So different periods of the lockdown, it was coming back to me, just copy edits and so it was it was a good time to focus on that, doing that kind of work. But in terms of creativity, I mean, and I think there are little other things that I was writing about the place, not in any focused way. I tried to release myself of that guilt because, I mean, Michelle sounds like brilliant. Like it's exactly how we should have approached lockdown. You know, yeah, you get to do writing, but God, I didn't want to do any writing, and I felt guilty. I felt, God, at the end of this, I'm going to think you had so much time and you didn't do a project. But I tried to release myself from that guilt. Just I'm not in the mood to do that kind of focus writing. I started, and this probably sounds horrible. I realized, don't ask why, I had a lot of empty bottles in my flat. And as lockdown went on, the pile of bottles grew a lot more. Again, don't ask why. And then I thought, so I bought paint and I started painting bottles. I can't draw for my life, but that was my creativity. I started painting, but specifically painting bottles, doing all kinds of weird scenes on them. And I think that was a kind of release.
Oh, that's really nice.
Question here, Dan. Sorry.
No, go on.
There's a question from John Sims, wondering if the poets have learned to look and listen more
Intensely. I think, yeah, I mean, I would definitely say I did, and especially the kind of, it was the dynamics, my own dynamics, the things that I might blame on, oh, it's because I'm stressed because of these external things. Suddenly it was realizing what was actually me, you know, what I had to take ownership from, and kind of listening to myself more. And I think nature and being able to sit outside, suddenly I just appreciated having outside space and watching the interaction of nature, and you know, there's a gang of magpies in the tree and watching their little, you know, muggings of each other. And there was just a stillness, which meant that when I did go back to writing, it was nice to feel like I had, yeah, I was refreshed in a way. What about you, Michelle? What about you?
1 minute. Michelle just said, what happened to the bottles, Kai? Because I interrupted you. Did you recycle them afterwards?
Oh, no, they're all over the flat now. They're there.
Auction them.
I know, I was gonna say. Exactly.
For me, yeah, I did. I mean, like, my parents, my adopted parents, yeah, it became very intense for it in a way, because you're looking after people virtually. That, you know, you don't realize actually what the weight of that, do you know what I mean? And then I had my birth sister, her and her niece were both going through cancer and having mastectomies and chemotherapy and radiation. And I think if we hadn't been going through this, you know, then I probably would have used work as an excuse not to actually feel it as much. You know, to just kind of well, I've got this to do and I've got that to do, and you can't actually do that. And I think I became, you know, I think my oldest sister's online, she'll probably say, yeah, you did. Well, I became a bit more thoughtful. Do you know what I mean?
No, definitely.
Yeah, so
I think we all did, Michelle.
Oh,
I think we all did. I have.
Yeah. Show yourself, Annie. Yeah.
No, I really do think that I know that in a strange way, I hadn't really stopped. I'd had a really busy time, and I started writing my last book just after my mum had passed, and then this had happened, and then, you know, it was actually stopping and kind of being okay with going, actually, yeah, this is a time where I'd have really liked her forensic knowledge of my kids, actually, and allowing myself to kind of absorb things in that stillness that I might not have had a chance to otherwise. It is, and I think also, I remember me and you spoke, I don't know how you feel about this, Kai, but I know for being other, and then for me and Michelle being transracially adopted other, which means you never really are fully at home anywhere entirely. I think having a break from being judged in that way was really healthy and kind of edifying to a sense of self of, as an autonomous thing, I'm fine. You know, I didn't have to reflect myself through anybody else's assumption and ideas of me, you know, negative or positive. It was, I think that was edifying. I don't know how you felt about that, Kai. I know you've written essays on, you know, what isn't said and that kind of those dynamics of race that we, you know, that we kind of, we hold, we carry, we stack on our back and don't really express. How did it feel to kind of have, you know, not have that kind of within your immediate environment, Kai?
I don't know. That I don't know if I thought of that. It's wait. All right. Sorry. Repeat the question for me. Like what exactly are you asking? What?
Yeah, that was attached to a long sentence. I suppose the experience of kind of, did you find that the experience of not being out in a wider world, being othered, was something you noticed its absence, or not really in the mix?
Yeah, not really. Because I think who we are as embodied people is so much of how we see the world and how much of how we see what's happening. So I think for me, sometimes it was feeling the burden. It was feeling the burden actually even more intensely of how we're making sense of it. And so like Dion Brand gave a brilliant lecture about this and the other day, and she's saying how during lockdown, so many people were going back to books on the plague and to these writers who were trying to make sense of being on the lockdown, and they were going back to particular kinds of books. And she thought, well, if I look back in my experience, every book is about being on lockdown, being circumscribed, having to make your way out of diversity. The whole canon of the Black experience is about that, but those weren't the books that we were turning to. And so for me, seeing people trying to make sense of this was only emphasizing how we live in the world racially, because different people from different vantage points could make sense of what was happening in different ways, and that became very apparent to me what that difference was and what wasn't always being said. And you thought, yeah, well, how do I say this in this moment? Yeah.
No, I get that, definitely. And how about you, Michelle? Can you relate to that too?
Yeah, I can, but yeah, I think I was saying this to you, was I saying this to you last night? I think it's that kind of, what are my reactions to the things, you know, to race and to the racism and to how I perceive, what are my reactions? And I'm holding myself accountable in a way of letting go, in a way of, like I said before, being grateful for actually what I do have. Do you know what I mean? But it's that kind of don't drag me anymore. I feel dragged. You know, I feel constantly dragged, and I think that I wrote a poem about it. You know, but the Maya Angelou quote, "We're only as blind as we want to be." To me, that's yeah.
No, I get that, and the what to leave behind, and I think it was that choice in the choice in what we can leave behind. And I know that coming out of this time, it was there was a relief of me kind of not being less aware, I think, or aware of the fact that I had a choice in how I perceived how I was perceived, and I could ignore that, and that was quite liberating in itself.
And that I think, you know, as you know, I mean, that's from all sides.
Yeah, definitely. I'm aware that we're coming up to the point where we're going to have if we want to fit in any more poetry, then we're going to be doing that now. And I think we're going to first have a video of a poem that Michelle worked on, and then we're going to go back to Kai after that. And if we're prompt, we can squeeze those two in. Yeah, I think that's the order we discussed, wasn't it? Yeah, is that right, Michelle? Yes, it is.
Just to say that this video is just, it was a commission piece, and it was 100 pages long, the report, and they wanted me to change it into a poem about how we're managing through COVID. And I went, ugh. You know, when I saw the report, because being dyslexic, reports and me, we just don't get along, love, we don't get along. So, yeah, but actually, when I finished the piece, my understanding and my overstanding to answer John's question was much more intense.
Brilliant. Right, I think we're going to go through to that film now.
Leeds, it's only when I'm not with you that your beauty glows. I can hold you in the center of my palm, stealing hours of rewound memories, a photo flicking album in my head, city streets full of the heart of Leeds, a melody of diversity, a pride in my city, born and bred. Knowing for certainty that it's something different for you. We all look at Leeds and have different views. I ask you to come try fit yourself into another's shoes. Do you move like they do? How do we breathe in this pandemic if we're already surviving, continuing to exist in spite of accident, ordeal, or difficult circumstances? We're all in this together. Are we all in this together? What does that look like for me and you? It's a taste of panic you cannot hide from. Tension in the families as everyone in, others sat in silence. And in the eye of the storm, some are locked into a domestic war, unable to reach out. No phone, no online access. How will you manage? Loss of sustainable contact, no more hugging, smiles hid under the masks we are wearing. We need clear, precise government messages, blanket restrictions. What fits one does not fit all. For open and honest conversations with police, parents and carers. For fears arise with confusion. Global world messages, no solutions. World has stopped, still racism rising. Holding breath, people dying, Leeds on mute, a mass sensory panic, surviving in this time of pandemic. Jobs lost, furloughed, independence imbalance, delayed payment tribunals, digital exclusion, feelings of being ignored, forgotten in the midst of pandemic, life suspended. What will happen post-lockdown? This is the liminal space between you and me, inside of our four walls, the hearts of Leeds, many grieving, holding it in to stop themselves from screaming. Because people don't just hurt like you do, nor feel like you do, see like you do. Till voices are heard, they're not meant to. Empathy is in the heart of Leeds. Distributions throughout the city, magazines, wellbeing packs, child-friendly information, updating websites, arts practitioners moving groups online, providing wellbeing time, healthy structures, healthy routines building, responding well to digital challenges, accommodating and training new ways of thinking, creating online groups through regions and cities to share key information and Zoom, straight to your room, issues diffused, future face-to-face assessments, welfare and retraining, virtually there, virtual care. This is the lead I hold in the center of my palm. You see, behind the scenes, between the liminal spaces, we are communicating, sat at home creating new breathing spaces, making changes. This is the integrity of leads when we move together.
Oh, wonderful. That was wonderful. Thank you. Lovely to get that collaborative element in there about leads. And I'm just wanting to check with Michelle. I know we're getting to the close, but I really want Kei to read again. Do we have time for that, Michelle? Yes, great. Right. Yes, if that's okay with you, Kei, I'll hand over to you for a final poem. We've got 5 minutes left, which is perfect.
Okay, thanks, guys. I think I'm going to switch my final poem and just read something that I wrote during lockdown. Not sure how it fits the theme, but and it might be morbid. I don't think it is, but yeah, it's what I've written. The only complete poem I've written recently, and it's called "The Dead." The Dead, after Elliot Weinberger. They are simply dead, only bones and wide acres of nothing. They live under the ground. They are, in fact, the ground. They are the leaf by which we walk. Or else they live in the air. They are here right now. You feel them as a sudden draft of winter or a tingling in the back. They are weighed against feathers. The quality of their afterlives depend on this weight. They are summoned by candles or by crystal balls or by the holding of hands in a circle. They raise their thumbs on highways, always seeking a ride home. They ride on low swinging chariots or on the backs of turtles. In the beginning, it is said there were two turtles. One carried the moon on her back. The other carried the dead. They plunged deep into the water, but only the moon resurfaced. They follow Binderwar, who is the first of the dead, who, having scared away a great bat from the forbidden tree, brought death into the world. They have returned to the great wheel and are waiting to be reborn. They are littered across the galaxies. They live in the stars. They are, in fact, the stars. They hold counsel in the heavens. They walk the streets on Juve mornings singing calypsos. What we think is wind is the sound of their songs. They are constant roamers. Their roaming lasts exactly 9 nights, or else 40 nights, or else eternity. They visit us in our dreams. They play pranks by moving the furniture, the armchairs they once sat in. They break the frames that hold their photographs. They are obsessed with counting. They count each grain of thrown salt until morning comes and they disappear. They maintain their Facebook pages, but are quiet until their birthdays. They haunt the living. No, they are haunted by the living. They are rarely seen, but can be if you rub the gunk from a dog's eyes into your own, or if you wash your face with rice water, or if you part your legs and bend over to look through the archway of yourself. They rest in paradise, or in power, or in peace. Light perpetual shines on them. They are our most certain future. and they are always remembered, and they are always forgotten, eventually. Thanks.
Oh, absolutely beautiful, beautiful. I love the aliveness, even when you're speaking, you know, about the dead. And yeah, my favorite of that was the turtle with the moon on its back, that image, but then also the very kind of technical cyber today thing of the Facebook pages. I love how they're, you know, your writing's always wonderfully meshed in today and yesterday, and that was a perfect epitome of that, and a lovely ending to an event that I've really enjoyed hosting. So I'm really grateful to have been able to be here for the invite, and thank you to Michelle Hodgson and Michelle Brown and for their technical and organising, and obviously to Michelle Scally Clarke and to Kei Miller. And I will be handing you back to Michelle Hodgson, I believe. But thank you very much.